What is your playlist called?
Swing for quarantine.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sunday night, College of Swing Era Knowledge. Oh, boy. I don't know if this one's going to be interesting because it's just a little, in my opinion, kind of a chat thing versus dancey stuff. We'll see who chimes in. If anybody's got any questions. Let's see who's out there. All right. Hey. We got Instagram and we've got Facebook Live here. I think there's a lot of Facebook Live stuff going on tonight, so we shall see. I'm just going to chat a little bit tonight. Let me max this out here on my screen. There we go. That looks better. Okay. So tonight's chat for teachers and organizers, I didn't have any specific questions, but I've got this little thing here. I'm going to show it to the Facebook crowd here. Wisdom from the 4 Agreements. Now, if you've never heard of this before, it was a couple years ago. Actually, my mom had passed away, and this was in a box of things that she passed along, and I had never read it. I probably had it for many years, and I finally had a chance to sit down and read it in actually 2017. And I just have a note in the front here for Autumn and Ellie from Dad. May you learn these lessons in life way before I did. So let me go through, if you've never heard of this before, let me go through this real quickly. So the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make any assumptions, and always do your best. So those are the 4 agreements. And so this is kind of the theme of my chat tonight for teachers and organizers. And so if anybody has any questions out there, feel free to chime in or ask away if something perks your interest or whatever. But I'm just going to chat a little bit based on how this has been helpful for me over the past 3 years or so since reading the book and really trying to put these elements into life. And also, I think about it often with regards to my dance companies, my events, for teachers as well. And so the first one, the first agreement, be impeccable with your word. I mean, again, a lot of these things are like a big duh, but I think especially in today's day and age, we're all human. And so, little white lies or straight up like lies, like it happens. The fake news, fake media, all the stuff that's going on now is really telling. And I think if everybody lived their life being impeccable with their word, we wouldn't have as many issues or dilemmas as we would have. All the stuff out there on social media, articles that take you one direction and then a rebuttal here, and then Snopes, and then this, and then that, and you can't trust anything you read, all of that stuff. So be impeccable with your word. Now, specifically what this means for organizers. If you're organizing an event, be true to your event. Be true to what you are marketing for your event. There's been plenty of times for me personally throughout the years, we've had to adjust either the lineup of the event or certain things happened with different venues and whatnot. And the sooner you can be upfront with your attendees, the better, so they're not confused once they get to the event. And also, I think I learned some good lessons one of the first years of the Bell Rendezvous. It was 2004 or 2005. I can't remember, but somebody had called and had either an illness in the family or a death in the family. And so at that time, I gave them a full refund. And I think word had spread. And again, not that I want to tee this up that I'm not thinking that anybody was like taking advantage of me or the event or anything like that. But there was for whatever reason that year, there was just a lot of emails and a lot of contact about I can't make it because of this injury, because of this illness in the family, because of this conflict that came up. And for me at that time, even though I hadn't read this yet, I was still, I think, trying to be impeccable with my word, even back in those days. And so I basically refunded a whole bunch of people for a lot of different reasons. And so to protect, and the event lost a little bit of money that year, but in moving forward, in order to protect the event and to be impeccable with my word, I made it clear in the registration that there are no refunds, but you can have exchanges. And again, being impeccable with your word. You're not doing that because you don't want to be sensitive to things that come up with people. But you also have to protect your event. What was the book? The book is The Four Agreements, and for me, it's just like this little. You can see it's pretty small. But as an organizer, your refund policy, your exchange policy, all the things on your website that you want to hold true to. So being impeccable with your word on things like that. As a teacher, being impeccable with your word. I often say this in my teacher trainings. You should only teach what you know. I know a lot of people, you can call them yes people or whatever. They'll just be like, oh yeah, I can teach that. For example, people ask me all the time if I can teach West Coast swing and some ballroom. And I right away I say, I know a little bit about it, but not enough to teach you. I would recommend you go to a ballroom studio for any of the like ballroom, foxtrot, waltz kind of stuff, or seek out a good West Coast swing studio for that. Could I teach it? Yeah, I probably could, but I'm not going to because it's not my specialty. And so in one of my teacher trainings down in San Diego, I remember somebody said, well, somebody came up to me and asked me to teach them Balboa. And I said, okay, well, do you know Balboa? To which they said, yeah. And I kind of know the people. I was like, no, really, you really, really know and understand Balboa. And they're like, well, so again, it's just one of those things, right? I mean, there's a lot of different dances out there, and you could be you can dabble in some of them, be a master of some, or whatever that term is. But I also think we live in a very sampling versus mastering society. Sampling, what I mean is I'm just going to go try some Balboa. I'm going to try to stay specific within the swing stuff. Like I'll do some Lindy Hop, I'll try some Jitterbug, I'll try Bell, I'll try Charleston. Yeah, I got enough moves, I got enough stuff I can go out there and dance and be okay. And oh, by the way, I just got through like 2 months of beginner classes, so I'm ready for that intermediate advanced class. You all know what happens. And so this is like kind of going a little bit of a tangent off of teachers and organizers, but this is just for dancers as well. Be impeccable with your word. Know where you are. Instead of sampling dances, maybe try to master it a little bit, like stick with the basics a little more before you move on and things like that. So as a teacher, you have that integrity in your classes. If you have an intermediate or advanced class, I would teach to that level. All too often at bigger events, especially, let's say you have a multi-level event. Like I was just at Rock That Swing Festival in Germany, and there are many different levels, tons of dancers. And so if I'm teaching an advanced class, I have a responsibility and an obligation to teach at that advanced level. And if I don't, then I'm just watering it down, and it just tumbles down, because then the intermediate-ish dancers that might have been in there that now think the material's too easy, but it was labeled as an advanced class, they're going to definitely go advanced plus the next year or the next class. But that was really my fault as a teacher for not teaching at that level, for being impeccable with my word if I came up with a description of the class. The other thing I talk about it in my teacher trainings is only teach what you know, but then also only teach what you do. And what I mean by that is I can't tell you the number of times I've been to classes and workshops where I see a couple or an individual showing a concept, but then when they social dance, they don't even, they rarely ever do that big thing that they were having them teach or having the students do when they were teaching in the class. One thing in particular that I can think of right now off the top of my head is like seeing a class where everyone's holding hands for a swing out and the teacher's saying rock step and everybody rocking away from each other. And again, you guys that have been watching these all week, you know I'm not a big like this is right or wrong. It's just what it is. And so hey, Michael Jagger, what does advanced really mean anyway? Yeah, exactly, brother. Okay, so everyone's holding hands, they all rock step, and that couple's saying, you rock away, this is what you need to do. And then I watched them dance that night, and when they social danced, he was like getting a big old nice stretch on his 1-2. She was swiveling in real hard, always coming forward, never doing a rock step. And so here they are, telling all the beginners that they should start with a rock step, but when they social dance, they never did it. And again, it's not a right or wrong thing. It's just an interesting thing for me to see. I would always encourage you to teach what you do and teach kind of how you move. Like you move a certain way. You have a certain idea. You have an ideology in your dance, the way you like to dance, the way you like to connect. Be that person. Be that way. Don't try to shift or change a message to fit a narrative that isn't the way or who you are as a leader or follower or teacher. So that goes along with being impeccable with your word. Okay. And again, if anybody, I remember Michael Jagger saying that if you have been dancing, if less than 3 years and you are still a baby dancer, it really helped me be okay with the fact that I just wasn't at the next level. Yep. When you think about, if we can go with some of the questions that are here. Advanced is a relative term. Advanced could, for some people, it's the duration that they've been dancing. So let's say I've been dancing for 5 years, so therefore I'm advanced. But I know people that have danced for 1 year that have worked super hard, taken tons of private lessons, dance every single day, work hard every day, whose skills far exceed the dancer of 5 years. So advanced is I don't know. That's a tough one. There's a huge no man's land between beginner and intermediate. Yeah, there can be. I think a lot of that again goes into for organizers and teachers, like how you structure your event, how you create the progression of classes in your community or your event can really help that. Michael Jagger chimes in. Now I would say closer to 10 to 15 years, and then you're not a baby dancer. I'm trying to remember the picture that I have. It says like a beginner dancer doesn't know anything. An intermediate dancer knows some things. An advanced dancer thinks they know everything. And oh my gosh, I can't remember it now. Something about but the advanced dancer dances with everyone is one of the key things. So for me personally, an advanced dancer, if you want, since I was talking about everyone has a different definition, my definition of an advanced dancer is, for me as a leader, I can make anybody I dance with look good, whether it's a beginner dancer, intermediate dancer, or an advanced dancer. And I would say on the flip side, for a follower, if you can make your partner look and feel good, then you're truly advanced, and the ability to dance with all levels. If for me personally, dancing with the beginner, like I love dancing with beginners and bringing them joy in the dance versus dancing with an advanced follower who's trying to show off to me or do their own thing and not really connect with me, if that makes any sense. That's, again, this whole discussion can get crazy in different ways we could go on all this stuff. Okay, so number one, be impeccable with your word. Number two, don't take anything personally. Now, without a doubt, number two and three. So again, the four are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, always do your best. For me personally, two and three are super difficult. It's really hard not to take things personally as an organizer, um, especially if you are open to like a feedback form, or you openly encourage people to give you feedback. You're gonna get some hits. It's almost guaranteed. And you you can't take that stuff personally, as long as, well, we'll get to number four, but I'm assuming you're all doing your best at the event that you're trying to organize. And so you're going to get people that are going to complain about things. Um, and so you got to take the good with the bad. And then it's always interesting. I remember during the Balboa Rendezvous years and even Swing Camp Oz, I would always do a feedback form at the end. And it would be like, five people loved the band, five people hated the band. Three people loved this teaching couple, four people hated them. And I would literally sit down and kind of balance everything out just to see, did one side stack up really big, good or bad. And obviously the good stuff we tried to recreate, and the bad stuff we would try to make changes if we can. But again, sometimes you got to understand, for organizers, we don't have the power to do anything and everything that every attendee wants. It's impossible to please everyone. So try hard not to take things personally. And again, that's tough, especially nowadays with oh my goodness, there's a lot of questions in here. Especially nowadays with social media and whatnot, you could post something that's completely innocent. Hey, you're just wanting to share this for the sake of sharing it, but then people get on board to attack it or to attack you. And I know a lot of professionals in other professions that will post things to their Instagram or their Facebook account, or they're in the situation where they have media managers that do that for them, but they never look at the comments. And when I say never, I mean never. They don't even engage in the back and forth. They don't even get involved with the social justice warriors and the keyboard cowards and belligerent bloggers and all those folks. I mean, it happens. It's out there. So today's world, it's kind of tough. You put something out for an event, you might get attacked online or in a forum for it. We've all been there, but try hard not to take things personally. Usually the people that are firing away at you, in my personal experience over 21 years, is there's something going on with them a lot more than what's going on with you. Again, assuming you have the best intentions when you're teaching, the best intentions when you're organizing an event. Let me get to some of these questions here. I also remind my students that the top one level is the bottom of the next one. That's good. Oh, that's a great point. Yes, I mean, in any workshop you're going to have, there's going to be the top person in that level and the quote unquote bottom person in that level and everything in between. So, yeah, absolutely. Pop up in their own lives. Yeah, yep. Oh, sorry, I should be reading these out loud. But there's just some stuff popping up on Facebook, so it's all good. Okay, so don't take anything personally. Easier said than done. Again, I'm working really hard at that as well. So number 3, don't make assumptions. This, I think, goes along with, obviously, number 1, be impeccable with your word, and also number 2, don't take things personally, because if you find out someone says this, that, or the other, or online or whatnot, don't make assumptions. From personal experience, go to the source, reach out to, for the organizers, reach out to it happens on all levels too. You might have a teacher that's not supporting your event, talking bad about your event, or a colleague, another event, putting down your event, or some students that for whatever reason don't agree with something you're doing at your event and putting it down. Go to the source. Don't make assumptions. Go directly to the source. Try to engage in a dialogue with them and get the information from them directly. Also, when it comes to don't make assumptions for organizers, specifically with the current state of codes of conduct and safe space policies and whatnot. Um, this is a big one, because if you can't assume that one side is correct or the other, you really should do your due diligence in hearing both sides. I know there's a lot of codes of conduct out there that actually state that, but over the years I've seen anything but that actually happen, where an individual is asked to leave, booted out, don't come back, don't ever come to class anymore, but they were never talked to. They never got their side of the story. And to me, that's making an assumption. Um, and again, I know there's a lot of talk about whatever the severity is. I mean, from the lowest thing to, awful things that have gone on in our communities the last few years. Yes, you want to believe the victims and things like that, but there's always two sides to every story, and you have to do due diligence. If you're going to have a society based on justice, then you can't make assumptions. You have to go to the source. You have to understand both sides of things. And hopefully both sides are willing to talk if it comes to situations like that. So again, for me personally, if certain things didn't happen over the last few years, I wouldn't say some of the things that I say. But for me personally, I've been asked to mediate seven different codes of conduct, safe space violations. Again, everything from small things to some pretty major things. And I've had the situations of having to like kick people out of their event and deal with some pretty hardcore stuff, to somebody just coming to me telling me to kick someone out of the community but not willing to talk at all, but the other person, nothing was wrong, so it was really hard. I didn't want to make any assumptions, try to get people together to talk, and they didn't. And here's the big one. Then another situation where somebody was like, you have to get this person out of the community, they're harmful, they're detrimental. But then I don't make assumptions. I try to get people together. I mediate in between them. These two people were willing to talk. By the end of the talk, they're like best friends. They're best buds on Facebook now. And if I hadn't seen that situation happen, again, me sitting down between these two, not making assumptions, trying to have an adult conversation and get through this, if I've never seen that happen, then I could see where some of the things like, ooh, I heard so-and-so do this, kick them out. Or you can't have this person at your event because they did this. Oh, kick them out automatically. But I've seen it on the other end where things get worked out in an adult way and talking through it. And because of that, due diligence and not making assumptions is super, super key. For teachers, don't make assumptions in class that everybody has the knowledge that you do. Don't make assumptions that because somebody is, I'm trying to think of a situation for myself in class. I'm not thinking of one right now off the top of my head, but again, like not making assumptions about things with your students and in class. Go to the source. If somebody was having a really hard time in class, maybe it was your teaching, maybe it wasn't, but go and talk to the person and be able to have a dialogue, adult conversation with those people. And again, those are two things that are tough for me. Don't take things personally is definitely very difficult. Don't make assumptions is tough because I feel like I'm placed in between in a lot of situations. And so then it's easy to make an assumption about someone or something until you actually go have that adult conversation. And some of those conversations are pretty tough. Not easy. And so what happens is, I think, how did I word this? I have a very strong relationship with uncomfortable situations. And what I mean by that is I've been thrown into some really funky stuff because of dancing. And I'm really good now at taking feedback, providing feedback, sitting down with individuals in a lot of different scenarios and being able to talk things through in a calm, it's not always easy, in a calm um, manner and trying to understand the other side of things. And the more you get exposed to things like that, the bigger your comfort zone becomes. So like now I don't have any issues with like a safe space code of conduct issue. I actually have posted a few times. If anybody's having any problems out there, please feel free to reach out to me. Chances are I've been through it. And being able to mediate between two people, or if you're having issues with your code of conduct or safe space policies, or you're running an event and you're having somebody boycott it or talk bad about it, things like that. I've been through it. I've had it happen to me, and I've addressed individuals, and sometimes it's gone well and sometimes it hasn't. But my comfort zone for dealing with uncomfortable situations is pretty big. All thanks to Lindy Hop and Balboa. It's so crazy, right? Um, okay, so let's get to the last one, which I think this is the one that's it's a duh, but it's not easy. Always do your best. Um, for me personally, on this one, with let's say I've been kind of doing organizer than teacher stuff. With organizers, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Like, there's just a lot of folks out there just slinging mud about this event and this organizer and that organizer, and I don't have this code of conduct, and this safe space policy isn't good, and this person does this and that. You know what? After 21 years, I don't know of any any organizer that has organized an event to be malicious, that has organized an event to be evil. Now, with that said, some people might have organized things at the same time to be detrimental to an event or whatnot. But I'm talking about like the event that they want to create, they're creating it. They're not creating it to harbor sexual predators. They're not creating a dance event to violate codes of conduct. And some people out there will say, like, if you don't have a code of conduct, then your event is awful. No, it just means you didn't want to have a code of conduct. It's just like every event organizer has a vision. And just because your vision doesn't match their vision doesn't mean you go out there and completely bash other people. And so what I mean by always do your best, I know of a lot of event organizers that are really trying hard to do their best, but they might not have the same venues that one place has, or the same resources for teachers, or the same resources for music. And so every organizer is really trying hard to do their best. And so for all the people out there, all the haters out there on social media that blast organizers and stuff, man, especially those that don't organize events. That's my favorite, is when you don't organize an event, but you have all kinds of stuff that you have to tell the organizer. I say organize an event. Put down that 25, 30 grand and commit that money to your event and see how easy it is. And I guarantee you, you will do the best that you can do, because that's what you want to give. Over 21 years, I don't know anybody that hasn't tried to do their best for their particular event. Now, again, there might be some politics and stuff of when they actually organize it and things like that, but that's a different ballgame. I'm talking about organizers doing the best for the event they're trying to put on. Now, for teachers, always doing your best. Kind of goes up with number one, be impeccable with your word. When you're in class, whatever you had going on during the day and whatnot, leave that at home. I see teaching couples like argue in front of students. I've seen people be like, oh, I'm tired, and sit down while people are dancing to music. And just, I mean, you can tell when the teacher is having a bad day. And I'm not saying you won't have your bad days, but if you're going to be a professional, you put that stuff aside and you give the students that are paying good money for your class the best that you can give them. That means when you demo impeccably with exceptional quality of movement. You never sacrifice your quality of movement. You're always hopefully planning for class, giving the best of your students, giving them the best example of things. That's an instructor that's constantly giving their best. Doing your homework. If you're teaching a class, prepare if you can. Make sure you're knowledgeable about the topic that you're going into and things like that. So on the teacher end, that's doing your best. Practice your teaching. Do a mock class. Have others critique your teaching. Have them tell you what they thought was good, what was bad, what could have been said differently. That's a big eye opener at times too. So I had a feeling this was going to happen. It's only 4 things. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Now, before this chat tonight, I did actually go through and kind of put some of my thoughts down. The other things that I was thinking of doing was going through a book that was pretty meaningful this past year, 2 years ago, that I read is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. If you haven't had a chance to read it or listen to it, I highly recommend that. So I took a moment to kind of go through the 4 rules and kind of apply it to Jordan Peterson's rules. I'm gonna have time to go through that right now. But what I'm gonna say is, if you are interested, what I'm gonna do is I'll create a PDF of this. And shameless plug, if this has been helpful to you or knowledgeable for you in any way, if you can donate, anybody that donates $5 or more, I will send them all of these notes. I got through like the first 4 lines of this. There's 2 more things that I want to go through. So something a good friend and colleague and mentor said to me is SW cubed W squared N. Some will, some won't. So what? Who or what is next? So when you're an organizer, some will come to your event. Some will not come to your event. So what? Who will or what's next for your event planning, and what's next? Move on to the next thing, right? Some will, some won't. So what? Who or what is next? As teachers, some people will come to your class. Some won't. So what? Don't worry about the people that aren't at your class. Do your best with the people that are there. Who or what is next? How can you drum up more business, more people? Or what's the next topic that you want to cover where maybe more people will come? And then who or what is next? Focus on what's coming up next. Focus on being the best that you can be in organizing or planning for your teaching. Yo, great. Somebody has the same hat. I've been trying to do some self haircuts. You're going to see a lot of hats the next few days and weeks because I'm not doing such a good job. Okay. The last thing I want to go over for tonight. Oh, and so the other thing, so I've got just a listing of the 4 agreements, all of Jordan Peterson's stuff with how the 4 agreements apply. And then I'm going to read this part here because I really want to make sure people hear this part. And then I also just added in something that's also been helpful for me over the years, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and how the 4 agreements and Jordan Peterson's rules kind of fit into there. At the end of the day, all these messages are pretty common. So if you give this a read, if you can donate $5 or more, I'll send you a PDF of all this. It might be stuff you've already heard, but it's just a nice little template of stuff to remember. So one thing that I want to go through very quickly, what we've learned with codes of conduct / safe space needs. A direct quote from, I think it might have been Jordan Peterson's book, or I don't, maybe not. I should have wrote that down. But anyway, More is asked of us than most dancers. Therefore, we must strive to be better. We must strive to be better than most if we are to prove ourselves worthy of that responsibility. What I'm going to read that again. More is asked of us than most dancers, as organizers, as teachers. Okay? Therefore, we must strive to be better than most if we are to prove ourselves worthy of that responsibility. The responsibility of teaching, the honor and the joy of teaching swing era dancing, if you get to do this professionally, there's no greater honor and no greater joy than to share this. If you're an organizer that's organizing an event to share the joy of swing dancing, that's a huge responsibility and a huge honor. And so we need to strive to be better than the everyday dancer or the everyday organizer. Like, be better, always do your best. So now the question is, do you want that responsibility? And this is a very important question, because if you don't want that responsibility to prove yourself worthy of organizing an event or teaching in front of a crowd, whether it's 2 people or 200 people, if you don't want that responsibility, then maybe you should consider not organizing or not teaching. If you do want that responsibility, but with what I call professional services, this is with regards to an organizer. So you want that responsibility, but you're going to utilize, for example, the police, the authorities, the various organizations in your community that can help people that have been affected by sexual harassment or drug abuse or any kind of abuse. Okay? So again, I'm going to take on this responsibility, but I'm also going to seek out the authorities and the professional organizations to help. Now, this might be a high level code of conduct, and you're utilizing authorities and organizations. And so at the end of the day, it boils down to this. You see this everywhere. Airports, train stations, whatnot. Your code of conduct could be simply this. If you see or hear something, say something immediately. Don't wait years. Do it right now. And treat each other with respect. Because if you do those 2 things, I guarantee you things will be taken care of in a timely manner. Now, to put this in perspective, one of the biggest and best dance events on the planet is Harangue. And they chose, when all the stuff was going down for the code of conduct thing, is they said, we're not going to have a code of conduct. We are in Sweden. We follow Swedish law. And we think that people are going to treat each other with respect. And I thought that was fantastic. Again, some people absolutely railed them for it. Again, don't take things personally. But that's the way they wanted to run their event. And if something happened, I'm sure they did their best and went to the authorities or got the people whatever resources that they needed in that time. Now, on the flip side, yes, maybe you want that responsibility. And if you want that responsibility and you're going to take on the mass, how do I want to say this? I don't want to say burden. Take on the responsibility of creating the mega code of conduct, the be all end all document that's going to cover every situation that could possibly come up with every individual in the world, because they might have something happen to them and you were the one that was supposed to anticipate that and be ready for all situations at all times. That's what I mean by yes and doing it on your own. If that's the case, be ready to follow your code of conduct and do your due diligence and make sure you have every I dotted and every T crossed, because these are situations that are very difficult. And so that's a tough one. I know that there was an individual in Australia who was working very, very hard to try to figure out all these different situations that could have happened at a dance or an event, and then what the repercussions should be because of that, almost creating the law of events or the law of what could happen in a dance community. And just working so hard to do that due diligence. And ironically, this is somebody that something happened to them and they got kicked out of their dance community without even being talked to. So the irony of it was unbelievable. And so we've got to be ready for those things. As organizers, are you ready for that responsibility? If you want to organize an event, if you want to be a teacher, are you worthy of that responsibility? So then a couple other bullet points here with regards to codes of conduct and safe space policies. I love this little line. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. I'm going to say that again. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. Even if you're the organizer or the teacher, it is still ultimately your choice to get involved in a situation between individuals or groups or this social justice warrior or whatever, or this blogger. You ultimately have that choice to dive in and try to battle it back and forth with that individual or be the mediator between those two people or whatnot. But again, you take that responsibility. But you do not have to enter every argument. There are professional resources out there to send people if they are having an issue with another person rather than taking that on yourself. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. Remember, I'm not a right or wrong kind of teacher. It's just a different situation. So unless you are ready to be in the middle and mediate that situation. If you're not ready for that responsibility, then find a mediator and send them to a professional mediator or a professional organization or someone else that wants to be a third-party mediator in that. But you personally do not have to enter every argument that you are invited to. All right, now let's assume you are going to mediate or you're asked to be the mediator between two individuals that made some poor choices or whatnot. Mediating or being asked to make a choice between the conflict of two people should only be between the two people and you. And typically, it's usually not the mediator, but sometimes it is. And so then word gets out, because here's what ends up happening. And especially when you're the mediator, you get asked by this person to kick this person out. This person says, I didn't do anything wrong. Now you're mediating in between. Well, guess what inevitably happens? You start, as the mediator, you start getting all the emails and feedback from all the friends of this person saying how correct they are. And then you get all the emails and all the feedback from people from the other side saying how wrong that person is and how much they support this person. And again, do you want that responsibility? Are you ready to engage with all of it? But remember, you don't have to go to every argument you're invited to. You've been asked to mediate between these two people. Do your due diligence, do your best to talk things out between those two people. Getting all these other people involved, your choice, but it's very difficult situations. So now, with that said, you definitely want to do your due diligence and hear both sides. And again, I had the beautiful situation where two people talk things through and now everything's fine. So what could have been a detrimental situation of kicking someone out of a community with all kinds of hearsay and all kinds of negativity and creating division in a scene ended up BFFs on Facebook and everything's fine just because they were willing to have that adult conversation, which I encourage everyone to do. So now, if we move forward, the last point I want to make on this one, and that'll wrap things up for, I thought was going to be a 30-minute discussion tonight, turning into 45. So if something happens and there is an issue and there is an individual that made some bad choices, is there a road to redemption? That's a big thing now. It's like, hey, as long as we've social justice warriored this person out or we've blogged this person out of our community, hey, good, they're no longer in the Lindy Hop community. Yay! We don't have to deal with it anymore. Well, guess what? Somebody's probably dealing with that situation in another community or another scene, or it's going to pop up again if you just push it away and never look at it head on and try to have these conversations. And so what is the road to redemption is the big question on a lot of people's minds now. So person A did something to person B, but they kind of talk things out, but person A is basically shunned by the entire community, and therefore they can never ever dance again. Guilty rhythm. Anyway, sorry. If a person is to be back into a community, I think step one is a proper apology. And what I mean by a proper apology has 3 points. One, the person admits that what they did was wrong. This is not easy to do. This goes back to the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word and always do your best. Maybe you weren't at your best at the moment you decided to do whatever to person A or person B, but now it's time to admit what you did was wrong. Number 2, admit that you feel badly that you hurt this person. Acknowledge that there was some pain involved and that you were the one responsible for it. And number 3, have a dialogue and ask, how can I make this better? And I'm talking about, this could be the smallest thing, a misunderstanding, to the biggest thing. Okay? What I did was wrong. I feel badly that I hurt you. How can I make this better? That is a genuine apology. That is being impeccable with your word. And it's not easy. And we're all human and we're all guilty of certain things. And so as organizers, you might come across these safe space code of conduct situations. Are you willing to take that responsibility to get in between these situations and see what you can do? And are you able to see if this person has the ability to apologize at the end of the day to the individual that was wronged for whatever the severity of the issue was? As a teacher, maybe you say something stupid in class, or a student does something in class that they didn't mean to do, but it's interpreted by the leader or the follower a different way, and now they have an issue, and they come to you as the teacher to mediate a situation. Are you willing to take on that responsibility? Are you willing to see that if one side or the other was in the wrong, can they make that apology? Is there a road to redemption? I don't know. That's a big can of weeds, right, Valerie? Big can of worms. It's a tough one. It's not an easy thing. But this is what I mean about being organizers and taking on that responsibility. We need to be better. We need to be better than the everyday dancer. We need to be better than the everyday teacher if you're going to be a professional. There's a lot of people teaching. There's a lot of people doing events. But I'm hoping that we raise the bar when it comes to how we do our events. We raise the bar to how we teach, that we are going back and bringing this full circle, that we are impeccable with our words. We don't take things personally. We don't make assumptions, and we always do our best. If you would like a copy of my brain from tonight, please check out the notes in the top of the live feed. Donate if you can. I know tonight was kind of a deep discussion. And for those of you that chimed in or were watching, I hope you gained some knowledge in Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge. And I'll be around all next week. Mondays, jazz. Tuesdays, Charleston. Wednesday, Lindy Hop and Jitterbug. Thursday evening swing, 7 p.m. in Spokane, Washington. Friday, shag. Saturday, Balboa and Bell swing. Sunday, teachers and organizers. Again, tonight was some heavy topics, and I actually typed up and did a lot more and talked about a lot more than I thought I would. But I want to be a resource to those of you that might be new to organizing or new to teaching. I'd love to have a Q&A if possible, or maybe we should set up a Zoom. I'm not sure. I'm still getting used to this online stuff. Today was really weird, just sitting the whole time and sharing with you, but I hope this was helpful. Again, donate if you can, and then I'll send you a PDF of this good stuff. And I'm going to throw it out there. If anybody is in need of help with a situation in your community, or if you're a teacher with a situation that you need help with, seriously, feel free to reach out to me. I've probably been through it. I've been through a lot of safe space code of conduct stuff. I've been through a lot of stuff with traveling all over the world and things. So I've probably seen it and been through it. And I want to be helpful and let you know that you will get through it. Because I got through it. It's 21 years and still going, and I still have a passion for the dance. I still have a passion for providing these opportunities to teachers, providing the opportunities to perform, providing opportunities for people to dance. Why? Because it's the joy. It's the joy of the dance that we're trying to promote. All the organizers, all the teachers, I really hope that deep down they're doing it for the joyful reasons. And this is why I'm out here live doing this for you guys. So next week, maybe we can come up with some questions in advance or have a nice Q&A dialogue. Check out the, it says it right at the beginning of the top of the live feed, whatever the notes are in the description. It says the title of this College of Swing Era Knowledge for Teachers and Organizers with a link to pay. So again, I'm here to be helpful, organizers. If you're going through something, let me know. Or if you need help, or if you need me to be the mediator or talk to people, I could be a heat shield. I've been in really funky situations, and I'm really not afraid to talk to people about any situation. So I'm here to be helpful. With that said, night night. I'm crazy about you all. Instagram, Facebook, Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge. Be safe, have fun, everybody, and be joyful for the dance.